Welcome everybody to the Disruption Masterclass with none other than Steve Wozniak. Steve, welcome.
Oh, glad to be here. We're going to be have to compete with all you financial types.
No, this is going to be great. Let's jump right into it. It seems everyone is in the stablecoin business these days, from retailers like Walmart and tech companies as Facebook and other financial institutions, as you kind of alluded to. So they do have to pay attention now. What do you think this means for the future of digital currency and how it'll impact consumers?
Well, obviously, it's affecting us a lot right now because there's so much more choice. It's almost like all technology, too many changes too fast and so many things going on. What is it? What is it about? And we try one, then we try another, and then after a while, we've got 10 of them. I think that uh, the funny thing is, trust is what we have for things like stable coins for blockchain technology. You can trust that it's exact, so one person can't go in and modify things. It's all detectable. But trust also applies to brands. They relate together. So if you want to convince an audience, oh, this is a trustable new technology, it's better coming from big brands. They just have an advantage that way, or you have to be very early and luck out like Bitcoin. Um, and then, do we trust digital currency? Oh, could things go wrong? I remember at the start of the internet, people were afraid to put their phone numbers, their credit card numbers out. Oh, somebody might get it. Wait a minute. Every store you go in, you're giving them your credit card number to view. So that didn't really mean much to me. And I went on as quick as I could when you couldn't even find a spot that would take a credit card. Found one little place in Hawaii selling coffee. These are the early dial up days of the internet. Selling coffee, and you could sort of give them your number over text and they'd get it. But trusting the new currency, that's people don't do that instantly. But once they get experience, then they and familiarity, then they're willing to, oh, this is a part of life that works. It's a whole new category of life, and it's a way that life changed. And when you have a lot of choices in the ways you can go about your payments, say your money system, when you have choices, choice to me always means a type of wealth. The sort of like freedom is wealth, because, well, if you have enough wealth, you could always buy yourself out of obstacles. You can find ways around them. So, so I'm
Yeah, I think you mentioned trust and brand, right? I mean, obviously, you being co-founder of Apple, know a little bit about building trust, and even with options, as you mentioned, Steve, is new gadgets, new technology. When we have all these choices, and now there's frequently testing and researching on variety of these new tech. For the fun of it, what's really exciting you? Because for me, it's always great to get your insights of what's exciting on the tech space.
Wow. You know what? I really enjoy the advances in personal assistance, getting a little better at understanding more complicated questions and little shortcuts to do things for you, So we get into Internet of Things being controlled by personal assistants around you. And I'm one of these people, I don't want to like modify my home to an extent that when I sell it, oh, the person buying it gets in my choices. So I like things that are only certain levels of, oh, it's just plug in, plug out, it's on, or it's there, or it's not.
How much
But
more advanced do you think personal assistants are going to be? Do you think that we're going to see another wave, or you think it's slowly going to get more advanced?
I think it's very slowly going to get more advanced. I do not think I don't think there's a limit as to how far you can go in thinking the way a human would. And any unusual thing, a human can understand what it is and how to deal with it. And that's not really true of, when we use artificial intelligence, machine learning to train these things to be very efficient at certain things. They totally miss simple, normal human things. One example is, oh, who scored the winning goal in last night's hockey game? There's a definition of winning goal, and these personal assistants do not know what it is. They
Well,
might
that's
know who scored
that,
the last goal, but they just don't take the formula into account the way they should. Maybe they could be trained to. And also, another thing catching my interest these days is folding displays. The Samsung Fold 2, because it's not only fold. I've had this folding display phones actually for some time because I met a guy for the Royale company that was really into it. We made good friends. But the Samsung Fold 2 has two displays. One when it's closed, one bigger display when it's open. It didn't really follow the one equals the other very well for me. I had bad problems. But there's a Razor coming out that also appears to have an outside display and the inside foldable display. So I don't know. I'm just interested in that. And the double displays, if you will. I'm also interested in the fact that drones have gotten so simple. Lower and lower prices for incredible features. Depends what level you're at, but even at a child's level, easy to pick it up and steer it and not get lost or have to be trained on it. EVs have been an interest of mine for a long time. Almost everybody, Mercedes is out today and talking about new EVs. And, all the electric bikes, too many of them almost, because I want one so desperately, but I don't have a way to know which is the good choice, which is one a lot of people are getting at. And in our electric, along with the EVs, but in every car, driving assist features. I don't like a car that tries to drive itself. I've had experience, but to give you notifications and warnings of things you might not have noticed, slight little assisting, but not like a full driving technique. I don't think we're ever going to get to that level 5, but these things, I just pay attention. Every time I see articles about them, that's what I go to.
Well, that's a great list of not just sections, but things that you share. Like you want personalization, but you don't want it all the way to where you're not in control of it. So that's very interesting of how tech can assist. But I also want to bring up, you said this once, and I'm going to quote you: "The best things that capture your imagination are ones you hadn't thought of before, and that aren't talked about in the news all the time." So when you look at the world of fintech, what are the questions and challenges do you wish the industry as a whole would spend more time focusing on? And, what are you bored of hearing about? And, about the fields of financial services and fintech people, what they should be looking at as inspiration and analogies.
Yeah. Well, for a long time, I've really been enamored by how fintech has reached down to the consumers. I mean, you can even have your own personal Square, and people can give you little payments with Apple Pay or Samsung Pay or Android Pay, and those things always caught me. I always wanted to kind of be up on what a little person could do, but then also our easy payment systems. And it's funny because people at first thought, oh, you could tap with your phone and pay with a phone. Well, we can pay with our phone, from PayPal and Venmo and Apple Pay Cash. A lot of techniques to pay with the phones now. So it's been interesting to see these develop, and I like to play with them just to learn about them. One of the things is the industry spend more time on, probably more than anything else, it's poor people that don't have advantage to every little thing, and give them some good ways to order their financial life and keep track of it and use it, get loans and go ahead. And poor nations, this applies especially to poor nations. And I think sometimes dispersing the management out applies a lot, because even in the United States, if you were to say, even in wealthy cities, there's one city, another city, maybe out in Alabama, and they have totally different financial needs. And so you really need to study. There's not just one system for all. I don't like that. I also, the thing is also, you get tired of seeing everybody still introducing the old style credit cards. Everywhere you go, there's a new credit card, and it just feels like it's almost like spam in a way, and then rewards programs. I never got into rewards programs. I think, my gosh, you should be real financially conservative. You spend what you have, you know what you're getting for how much, and rewards programs are kind of like tricks to play, but I've been flying so much, of course I'm in the airlines, I get benefits from it. I'll say that, from being high up. And it'd be nice. I also don't like the fact that everybody's trying to start a new social web, and we got all the features, and the trouble is eventually the big social webs that exist have got to get broken up, and in a way that you can export your timelines, your friend categories, all over to a new one and make a choice. Whoever's got the best social network, I can choose and have, and it's not just everybody trying to repeat everybody else. That's kind of like new cryptocurrencies. I mean, everybody wants, you just see, dozens started. I know hundreds of them started, and they just were all along the idea, oh, we'll get rich real quick. Those of us who started, we're going to tailor it this way, and we own so much of it, and we have a celebrity that owns so much. And that one really turns me off, to tell you the truth. It doesn't bore me, but it turns me off. I do look forward to a lot of in-person shopping in stores with, beacons and stuff. You get near products, and messages can pop up to you, and easy to order on your phone by clicking, and yet you don't have to carry it with you. I think we're getting closer and closer to that, where it's sort of like an order and it'll show up at your home the same day. Look at how we've gotten for deliveries. That's part of the whole financial system for consumers. And as a consumer, I also think of ATMs. I don't know why. Some of my cards don't don't work on ATMs. I guess that's a real negative thought. And it doesn't tell me why. Give me some information. Why is this transaction being turned down? But don't just say a vague thing, it didn't go through. I wish I had more information. That would be like transparency.
Well, no, not like, but I think what you're saying is we want to be transparent. I think the industry needs to be transparent. And I think also to tie in what you said, financial inclusion is something that needs to be defined, and an actual a metric that needs to be measured is what I also heard from you saying, the term is so broad, you've got to make it relevant to every community. So that's, very well said, Steve. I also want to ask you, startups like Microsoft and Apple, Google, Facebook, Twitter, etc., were all started by bright, ambitious young people who stumbled on something of unseen value. What advice would you give to the next generation of potential entrepreneurs, where at these days almost everyone can be, who may find it harder in today's world to get funding their idea? So I guess this is a funding question, which I'm sure you've gotten asked many times.
I can't really pretend to know here is a formula to make it big, have a huge company, a big successful company that doesn't just not just be something like a Microsoft, Apple, Google, or the ones you mentioned. It's not like there could really be a formula. We can go back to things that work. One of the things is, as you mentioned, young people tended to start these things. Many not, just in the middle of college, they got intrigued by something. It would not have been possible if big industry and the analysts and everybody in the industry, financial industry, knew what it was going to be worth. If they could really foresee the future and, move on. No, they all said, no, this isn't going to go. It's not worth much, Heck, that inspired us and gave us more passion. And obviously the passion's the important thing, because young people aren't saying, I know how I've done this before. I know how it's been done. I've read the same books a million other people read. I'll do the same thing. No, they said, here's a new idea. It's cool. I'm going to work on it all on my own. And it probably isn't worth anything from what a lot of people are saying, but I'm going to try to turn it into a business, something for my life. So that methodology applies to this day. People come up with, here's something a little wrong in the world, something I think I have an idea to do better. But the funny thing is, don't just trust your ideas. Don't just say, because if you say, if we make this new product or service, oh my gosh, a bunch of people have it easier in their life, and they might, but sometimes you make something that's good, helps people, but just not enough compared to the alternatives or what's the status quo. But one of the things is, there'll be 1,000 people around the world having the same idea. I travel a lot, and I'll hear a lot of people talking about, why don't we have like a Facebook that knows who your friends are around you when they're close? You'll hear these ideas, but it's the people who actually put them into motion and take the time and create prototypes, or at least virtual screens on a computer that you can reach out and touch and play with and see how it works. Really turning ideas into reality. That's creation, and that's the important creation. But young people will tend to go out and do that, and and say, I'm not trapped by the status quo because I'm not in it. I didn't create the past, so I'm free to see, my gosh, there's a much better way to do this for the future. It's usually based upon new things that happen in scientific discoveries like chemistry, physics, genetics. New discoveries make things possible, and the markets of today just keep cranking the same wheels. They know how to make a formula, but not how to do it in a totally different new way. So young people aren't trapped by that. Being open to seeing all these other ideas is sort of the key to disruption. And I think big companies should have a small team, a disruption team, with a chief disruption officer that reports to the board of directors, not to the CEO. The CEO has the more important job of got to keep everything running today, got to keep the revenues coming, tend to all those details, and to think about very different things that are a few years off, 5 years off maybe, that might come about. That should be a job that doesn't burden the CEO of today.
And that's interesting. You the stereotype of passion, right? I like the challenge that you don't have to just be an ambitious young person. You could be all, age doesn't matter as long as you have that passion, be able to do it. And you can get inspiration from young people in providing the entrepreneurship. And in doing so, I think you mentioned, if you create a disruption realm in the arm, almost like you said, anything goes, right? You want to be able to push forward no matter the thinking, and think outside the box. So that is that's an interesting take, because I think this ties into kind of maybe what you can share a little bit, what sounds like some of your biggest lessons that you learned at Apple, and how do you think they apply the business today?
I mean, Apple's idea, what Apple is, doesn't apply to usually the normal even startup or new business within a business, because because I don't know, we were just so young with absolutely nothing, and whatever we did was kind of gold in what we were trying to do. We knew our goals and reached them. But one of the things as Apple evolved, they were sensitive to the market. We were sensitive to. We started out and it was largely a big game playing market. I mean, our computer was going to be the first 10 years of our revenues was the first time ever that arcade games were done in color, that arcade games were done in software instead of thousands of wires in hardware. No, this was a huge step, but then we noticed that, oh my gosh, when the spreadsheet came out, there was this hidden business market. People, small businessmen, people with money willing to spend it was 10 times the size, for us in revenues. And we shifted, and we really went in that direction. And over time, we shifted who we were many a time. We started out as Apple Computer making computers, and now we're Apple making products for anything. We took the word computer out, and that largely came about with things like smartphones, the iPhone, and now we're moving into the streaming world, video streaming world, and things like that. And a lot we're kind of heavily in finance. We were the first company that came up with a good system of Touch ID, of identifying yourself without a password. Everyone copied us within a year. All the big companies had to come in and do what we were doing, and then that really enabled tap your phone to pay, and you don't even turn your phone on. You didn't have to turn your phone on and type in a PIN code for your phone and then find an app and then type in the PIN code for a credit card. You didn't have to do all that to tap to pay. We made it easy. And so that's financial stuff. But we saw there was a big market in that. And look at what we have today with Apple Pay. Everywhere I go, all I want is Apple Pay, and I don't have to carry cash. I don't have to carry credit cards or a wallet. Just tap my phone and my watch, and payment done. So Apple kind of has moved in these very fortuitous directions. You've got to kind of know, where is the world going to go, and that's a rough guess. It's a lot easier to be wrong than right as to what's going to be the next big thing.
It's kind of funny. You just described what I think the fintech industry is going to be going through as well, and that disruption of finding places of where you said market and what consumers and what the world is demanding from the industry. I like you guys did at Apple, which is very, very, kind of a great similarity and a great way to end this. But before I let you go, Steve, I like to play this thing, Ryan's lightning round. So just one word or one sentence, and fill in the blank. All right, let's see if we can try to do this. Innovation is.
Creativity.
Thanks, Steve. Really appreciate you doing this, coming on. I think everyone in the audience enjoyed this, and let's take some Q&A.